What is up, guys? Welcome back to another amazing video tutorial on Palitos technology. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you're watching me from, and most importantly, compliment of the season. Today being 26th of December 2023. So I decided to create a video based on a request from one of my follower on LinkedIn. So today I'm going to be making a video on how you can make use of JsonArray, JsonObject, and also some other properties that has to do with the JSON. But before I go into the video, I would like this is currently my channel, and I want to thank you for your contribution so far. Currently, we are on 685 subscribers, and we have only been able to upload 76 videos, and so far so good. We have been able to have couple of views on the videos, so you can currently see that we have 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 videos on business central developments. So I recommend you come back here to watch these videos because I have shared so many secrets within these videos. Thank you so much for following so far, and keep on smashing the like button and the subscribe button. So let's go into the video. If you have any video requests before this year ends, you can send me a message. Either you can drop a comment below, or you can also access me on LinkedIn. My profile name is um, just done. So I'm Oyebo Ali Aziz on LinkedIn. You can come to my LinkedIn and drop a message. I would for sure going to reply. I'm going to respond, and so that is basically it. So before we get into this video again, I would want to be sure you're familiar with what we call the JSON, because JSON is an object based kind of structure that we use in structuring our data. I'm going to be doing a few examples of how a JSON example looks like, because if you look at my launch.json, you see this is a typical example of how a JSON object looks like. So from this JSON object, the JSON object starts within this curly brace. So we have this opening curly brace and this closing curly brace, and whatever we have within it, we call them an object. So let's say, for instance, I like in the example above, let's say I have a name and then a semicolon. What is the name? The name is Palito City. You understand? So this is an object. If I want to have any other property or object within, I say age. Let's say I have what we call age. So I would, let's say, 44, and obviously I'm not 44. This is just an example. So this is a typical example of how a JSON object should look like. Let's now say inside this JSON object we have an array within it. Let's say we have array of address. Let's say address. So obviously you know that I might have two different addresses. So I can use this square bracket, which represents an array. Array is more like I'm having a school bag that has different zip. So in each zip I can access different information. So I can say inside there, I can say 2 or more streets. Do you understand? So let me change this quote to a double quote. So it varies from language to language. So let's say I have this as my first zip. The other zip, I have another information. Let's say I have 4 bag streets. Do you understand? Now, from this object, which is a JSON object, I have different properties. I have property name, which is Palito City. I have age, which is 44, and I can also have an array of information. I have address. This is my first address, which is on the first index. I have a second index, another address. So I'm going to be making a separate video also on how to understand array and how to also understand JSON in an in-depth manner. So this is just for instance. So let's go into the video itself. So I have created an environment. So I call this a JSON array project. And you can see I only have some few information here, the launch.json, the app.json, and I have no other folder. So if you have been working with us in our videos, you know we usually like structuring things. So I like to create what we call a page. I like to also create what we call a table. And if you are also familiar with us, we might not use code units, but just in case we might need it, we also create what we call enum, right? So we also create table extension, page extension. So we are not even going to be working with that, I think, but let's create it. Let's create a table extension, page extension also. Okay, so um So we are going to be working with a code unit. So let's create a file called JSON samples.al. All right. So within my JSON sample.al, I want to say T code unit, T code. I want to tab it. So we realize our app.json is also red. So this will be because we have not yet downloaded symbol. So let's try downloading symbol. I'm pressing Ctrl Shift P. Then I'm also going to create a download symbol. So let's see how this works. So I need to authorize, say okay. So I need to paste this code and say okay. So it's going to ask me which account do I want to log into. So I'm going to choose this first one and I'm going to say continue, and that's pretty much it. So when we go back to our environment, we should see it's already downloading symbol. And the way to also confirm that is you come to this your app.json, you expand it and you check if files are being downloaded. As you can see, I'm starting to get download for different files. So basically this should be about 4 different um download you should make. So while this is done, I should be able to move forward. So I should also get a status called download successful, and I should not get any red in red color here. So while we are working on that, let me quickly explain some other aspects to your launch.json, and in case you're having one issue or the other, how you can fix it. Make sure when you're working with the SaaS, it is always on the environment sandbox, and the environment name should be a probably environment you have created. So you should have probably named your environment name and put it there. So this starts object ID could be changed. This is flexible based on the page you're currently working on. If to just make for simplicity's sake, I can put the ID of the current page I am working on. So whenever I compile and launch, it opens the page directly. So that is about it. You can see symbol has been downloaded. So we shouldn't get any error here again. You can see. So the other thing I can do on this ID range is I want to increment this to 99999. I don't really need it, but just for you to know that you can actually alter this to 999 as the maximum customizable IDs that you can use for a project. So every project would start with 5100 and it will also end in 99999 as seen below. So the other thing we want to do is on the publisher side. So since this is a Palito City project, so why not say Palito City? And the version is okay. You can do a brief description, and that's pretty much all about this. So let's move into the JSON sample. So we said we are going to press code units, and I have a snippet already, so I want to click on this, and I want to make use of the ID. It's and then I want to name this JSON learning. So obviously, we are going to be working with okay, let's start from the variables. Now, Business Central provides us with different objects when working with JSON or array, or there's something also called token. So I'm going to be explaining all this, but I can make a separate videos on different components. But I would like to actually explain this because this would allow you to understand why all these are put in place. So there's when we are working with JSON, there's something we call a JSON object. So let's create a variable. Let's call it name objects. So we want to create a name object which is going to be a JSON. Sorry, Control Z. So I say JSON. So when I press J, I have four different values. I have a JSON array, a JSON object, a JSON token, and also a JSON value. I'm going to be running through all these four different functions. So for this moment, we want to make use of a JSON object. Like I said, we want to create an object of names. So let's use this as an example first. Let's create a procedure tpro. So I can use the short snippet tpro, and then I get a t procedure, and I want to only remove this local. So I want to say generate name object, right? So I want to remove whatever is here, and just for simplicity's sake, I'm just going to be writing a simple one. So I have properties like, let's see, I want to create a JSON of just names. I only want to have names there. So I'm going to call this variable name. I am going to use the dot notation. You can see from this notation, I have different other functions I can use. I have the add, I have the as token, I have the clone, I have the contains, I have get, I have keys, and this is so many things we are going to be running through. Okay, so I'm having a particular idea. I'm going to be making a part one, part two, and a part three. In fact, if we are able to go to a part four, this will make a whole lot of sense because I should be able to cover almost all of these other functions within it. Now, let's say the first thing we should want to do here is, let's see, um currently this is let me see what should we work to. Now I'm going to erase this, and I'm also going to create what we call a dump object. So this dump object is going to be a text. So I'm going to be dumping whatever object I have created inside this text. So I'm going to be showing you in a couple of minutes now. So the first thing we need to do is, let's use the dot add. So what does this dot add do? Just in case you are working with any other properties in Business Central, Business Central already make it more easier for you to understand how to use each and every properties. All I just need to do is to alight on this add, and then I can see that it takes two different values and it returns true or false. You can see it takes what we call a key, and then it takes a value. Do you understand? So that means basically each value are JSON token. So you can see why I said when we start from one, we understand how the other works. So we can also see that so we say key and value. Now we say we just want to create a key of names, right? So for this name, I want to I think it doesn't accept double quotes. So its error is also self-explanatory sometimes. You just have to pay attention. So the other one is the value, right? So let's say the first name is Oyebowale, which is my surname. So I'm already creating an object. So in the real sense, this is what I am currently creating. I'm creating what we call name, and the name is called what? Oye Bowale. So this is basically what we are creating behind the scene. Just for us to confirm that, so I am going to be saying I will know that this currently returns true or false. Just for us to be sure that we have actually created an object called name, and the name is Oyebowale. Let's use a conditional statement. If name object dot add, then let's message. We want to message to the screen. Let's say JSON object is, you know how we do it, %1. So we now say object, right? So let's save this. And okay, so we need to copy this out of here and paste it within our function, right? So we can only take this generate, and let's see. So we need to create an extension so we can attach it to something, to a page that we can see the value. So I love experimenting with item extension. Let's say um, customer extension list. Let's say we have T page extension. I'm using the snippet, or again TPEST. So I'm choosing the first one. So I want to create an ID, right? Also, I want to name it a JSON sample, but I want to extend the customer list, right? Customers. Yeah. So this is basically it. So under the action parts, I want to add after let's see, customer, yeah, add after customer, then action. I want to name this action show JSON, right? So I'm going to use application area to all. I am going to say trigger on action. I want to begin end, and I want to say I want to reference the code unit. If you can remember the code unit, I think this is JSON. Okay, let's say show JSON equals a code unit. Is it JSON learning? Yeah. So I can now come here to call this and say dot generate objects, right? I save this and we publish. So before we publish, let's quickly see what number this page is. So page 22. I want to make sure my launch is also 22, you understand? So I can publish this. So let's just wait for it to be published. Okay, so you can see we're currently running page 22, and I am waiting for it to load. So I'm currently taking my time so that I explain well. So I want to look for my customer, and what did we name it? Jason something. Right, not here. Okay, so let's look for more option. Let's go to related so we can find it here. So when I click this, so you see we have a JSON object is name Oyebowale, like I have explained earlier. So let's say, for instance, we want to also create another name. So we can also do the same. I'm using this if because when you start to work with JSON properties, and probably you're trying to retrieve a particular property, and the property is currently not available, you get some error. In order for you to avoid those error, you make sure you use the if statement. So you only check for it if they are present. So let me say, now let me say um let me say I want to create another name. So instead of me repeating this, I can say then the same thing, right? Name Adi Kunle. So I'm adding two names. Then I want to, I could remove this. So if that first one is made, so you should create the order. So after the other one, I want to say if this, then I want to message, okay, I want to message JSON. So now we have two values. We should have two different um property called name and of different values. So we say name object, right? So we save, we publish, and we do the same thing to read again. uh Cancel this, and I just wait for it. So come back here, related, show JSON. Okay, did we didn't get anything. Show. So let's see what's wrong, what we did wrong. So I'm going to remove this if, and then going to put a semicolon here, save this, and also publish this. So this could be because we are having duplicate of names. So let's see. Yeah, so something is definitely wrong. So if I see other names, other name first, then we can do the names later on and publish this. Now we can't have two property of the same property name within the same JSON, if that makes sense. So we can do this and we should definitely see a result. So we have name. It's the reason why the first one wasn't working is we already created a property called name, and we did a repetition again creating another name, which doesn't make sense if you look at it, except we have a JSON inside JSON. So we can see inside this JSON information we have a name and we have other names. So let's now say we want to have array of names. So we can now say instead of names we have other names. So these other names will now be um so would have problem here because we have to also introduce what we called other names, which is a JSON array. So pretty much the same way we have added to here, we also can do the same and see these dots add. So we want to add let's say David, right? We want to say okay, we can add multiple values like this. There's a special one for this. So we have add, right? Okay, I think it is um this other property, not this styles that. So we can only add one after the other. We can have add David, we have Adekunle, and we can now copy this and replace it with this value. You can see now I created an array of names which has David and Adekunle. So since we have other names, we should have something that can take an array of names. So let's save this and publish also. So I'm going to be ending the video anytime from now and make um, another video so that I don't take too much time and I also touch all the necessary things I have to touch. You see the previous one was this, so let's see what this new one is going to give us. So I can come under this related and show JSON. I can see that I have name Oyebowale and I have other names which has an array of David and also Adekunle. So basically this is how we create objects and arrays within JSON. So now let's see how can we retrieve from all we have created. All right, let's say we want to retrieve the name, only the name, yeah, we want to retrieve name. So we say um we say name object dot get. So we are trying to get one of these properties. So if I over this, I see we have key and the result would be in JSON token. So that is once I put this key, I also have to create what we call a JSON token to hold the results coming. So I'm going to copy this property because I want to retrieve the name as a JSON token, right? then I want to return the value as name token and say this is a JSON token, right? So from this, whatever value you get, whatever results you get, please dump it into this name token. That's basically what this means. So I can use my semicolon. Now obviously you were thinking when you access name token you should be able to get the value, but no, let me show you what you're going to be getting. So I can message what is currently in my token. So I can have my percentage one already and say name token. So I'm going to save this and I am going to publish, because I currently want to show you how you can get the value and what you would get without using those properties. So now we want to only retrieve Oyebowale, right? So within our message we are expecting to see Oyebowale, which is the name, right? So we only want to message what is here, the value, which is Oyebowale. So we come back here, we do the same. Sorry, related show JSON. So we have the currently is token, we have Oyebowale, which is fine. Now let me show you something. So let's say we created some a variable called users name. We say this is a text, so we want to create a variable to hold that username. Now since we already know the new token is holding the value, so we say equals name token, which you would have thought, of course. So when I do this I have an error, and you see we say we can't convert a JSON token to a text. So what do we do in this situation? Within this token we have a dot notation, so we can now say, okay, with this token I want to have it what, as a text, as a value. I want to get the value, so I want to have it as a value. But this value again, because of I'm using a text here, I want to also have it as a text, right? So it converts whatever value is getting from this current object, it converts it into a text that I can assign to this. So you see, if I say copy this username and paste it here, save, and also run it again, I should have the same Oyebowale right here. It's just that I'm able to reference Oyebowale to a variable. So I'm closing this. Closing this. So let's close this. Don't want to have too many tabs opened. All right, so once again, show JSON, and we have Oyebowale. And now you notice the difference between the first Oyebowale we got, there was a double quote within, and now we are having just Oyebowale, which is fantastic. So with this video we've been able to touch array JSON and array JSON objects and also JSON token. Now we've been able to add to an array, add to an object, and we also have been able to retrieve. So let's now say we want to retrieve these other names, but we want to retrieve the second name instead of the first name. Sorry, Control Z, instead of this first name. So we also do that by saying, let's see, let's see. Now we want to say name object dot what get, the same way. Now we only want to get what we call other names, right? So I can copy this out and paste it here. So you might be thinking, I used it here and I can also use it here. So I want to save whatever value I get there. I want to copy this name token and I want to save it here. So automatically I'm expecting that after I reinitialize this a value, the previous value has left. Do you understand? So this is a new statement entirely. Once again, I repeat myself. We use this dot get to get only the name and we save the value inside this name token. But because I am done with this information and I want to get another value, so I'm using the same statement, only that I am changing the property name. Now I know that for sure other names is an array, so whatever value this is getting should be an array. So I don't want to assume for you, so let's message it first. Value for other names. So do the same thing and then I say name token, just to show you what we should be expecting. So I'm going to save this also and I'm going to publish this. The video is getting too long, but I think it's worth it if you are following, because I don't see any reason why you won't understand this, because I have broken this into simpler way. And if you don't understand it, it's no problem, you can still come back to it and watch it again, or you can come to the comments section and request for the difficulty you're facing doing the same thing. So I can go to the related and click show JSON. You see, I first got the first message, which is Oyebowale, and now the second one, which is an array of David and Adekunle. Now, working with array, you can access David by saying index 0, and you can also access Adekunle by index 1. So basically what I'm trying to say, the index starts from 0 with in AL. So Control J. So since I already know this is an array, I can check if name token dot is array. So if only is an array is when I want to do whatever is within this begin and end. So since I've checked is an array, I also want to create a variable called count or length, len, and say is an integer, if this makes sense. So I want to say length is equals to name token dot count. So before I do that, so I have to convert this as an array, because the token is just a value. So I have to first convert this name token. I have to make sure it's an array for sure. Then I can now say dot count, because I want to be able to know how many value is within this array. So what we can do here is we can message the array length is percentage one as usual, then I say len. So let's currently know the length and see if it's actually correct. So I can publish this. So I come here and let's say related show JSON objects. I get the first prompt and you can see we have the current length is 2, which is correct. So because we have two names, which is Adekunle and also David. So this is okay. So we can now furthermore do some other things here. We can now say, since we know this, let's say we want to first print all the names. So we can say a for loop. And for this for loop, I want to also create a variable called index. So this index will be responsible for moving through this array. So I say for index is equals to 0. You remember I said the array should start from 0 to length, right? Then do begin end. So this is basically how we use a for loop. We have to and we have up to length. We have two ways of writing this for loop, but this is the way I want to write mine. I want to assign the index as 0. Then I'm saying from 0 to this length, which to 2, I want this any statement within this to be repeated. So I want to message um first one. I want to know the index I am currently at, index with value percentage 2. So what I'm saying is I want to represent the index here, the current index. So it will just be like 0 index with value, whatever value. So I want to pass in index as the first argument. The second one, I want to say name token dot as array, right, dot get. So because I want to retrieve, I'm using dot get. So don't let this be too much for you to understand. What I'm basically saying, since we've converted this to an array, I'm just taking this all back, right? You can see token as array, but now I want to retrieve the first index. I want to retrieve whatever index it is currently at. So I paste in here. So I want it to get the index. So what were we having as issue? Okay, so I'm going to copy this. Actually I'm going to bring this out here, right? So I'm going to create another token and say array token equals JSON token. So I'm going to take this. Basically what I'm saying, I want to retrieve each index. Obviously each index has a value. I want to store the value inside this array token. Now I want to now retrieve this array token since it already has the current index value. So you're going to see how it works. I basically just call this and I retrieve the index and I'm saving its value inside this array token and I am retrieving it. I am outputting it back to the system. So I'm going to compile this. Make sure you subscribe to this channel if you have not subscribed yet, and trust me, you can also request for a video and I can try my best to make it up. uh, so let's see what we get. So I'm going to be publishing this video after this last example, and I'm going to be creating another and explain further. That will be a part 2. I think I'm going to be wrapping it up from on part 2. You can see because I thought this video is going to be about few minutes, but uh, because of the passion I have exceeded that. So let's show JSON. So the current token, yeah. So you can see on index 0 I have David. Okay, index 1 I have Adekunle. Okay, so we have index out of bound. Why do you think we have this error? You can see that we said the total length is 2 and we started looping from 0. zero, 1, 2. 2 is the maximum it reaches. When it got to the 2, there is no value, and it's telling us index out of bound. So we need to correct this. So while we are looping, we now say length minus 1, because we know there are no value on index 2. We start from 0 and 1, which is 1, 2 is already 2, it's complete the length. So we need to always use this minus 1, so to avoid that type of error. So I'll save this and compile this again, and this will be the end for this video. If you like this video, do like, share, subscribe. We hope we can still meet up to getting a 1K subscriber this year, 2023. Today is 26, and it won't take any it won't take much time to get this amount of subscribers. And if we don't, yeah, next year we make sure we double our work. So show. So I have one index David, and I have one adequately, and fine, we have no error. So you can see working with JSON, working with JSON token is very, very simple. JSON token just allow you to store your value, and with the value you can now further see if you want to convert it to a text, integer, or whatever data type you want to. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate. This has been a very fruitful year. There's been a lot of turn up on my channel, and I am grateful for that. So I'm going to see you next year. Obviously, I'll post in my part 2 of this video, and yeah, so that will be it. Thanks.